All right, so this week's projects are going to be the offset link and the carburetor gasket. Both of these require a little bit more preparation and foresight into what's going on. One of them is going to be utilizing the carburetor gasket. It's going to be utilizing a new button up there called fillet. What that's going to do is that's going to round a corner based off of a specific degree that we specify for it. But anyways, we're going to get into the offset link. And let's get ready to go. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be looking at this front. We're going to go Shift S. We're going to select that front. Oh, Shift S. There we go. Now we're drawing our sketch. And we're going to go right click and zoom, view normal 2. And we're going to be rotating around. So this is going to be one of the new things that we'll be doing is when we go to actually set this up, we can utilize a rectangle. We're going to, with a center point rectangle, we're going to offset that out and make sure we line up with the origin point over here. That's going to save us some time and some headache for later in the project when we go to extrude out the other one at the other angle. Okay, so we're right there. We're looking at that. Let's go grab our circles. We're going to select that midpoint and then do another circle on the inside. Coming out, we're going to hit D for our distance. Okay, and let's see, I'm looking over there for our distance. We know the top to the bottom is 1.5. Okay, and we know this distance over here. So the distance to the center of this circle, which is also the linearly length, is also 1.5. Okay, so we see that shorten up and adjust. Let's check out the dimension for this inner circle. It is at 1. There we go. And now we could go through and trim out some stuff, but like we saw in the sling last week, we know that if we do our Shift E right here, it's going to select everything but that center point in here. Okay, that center circle. Okay. Now the thing that we want to do is we want to actually change away from blind. Okay. Blind does not help us with this at all. In fact, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us. We're going to change our blind to symmetric. Okay. And we're going to set our depth to 0.5. Okay. What that's going to do with the symmetric is instead of extruding just one way, it's going to extrude symmetrically the total distance of 0.5. Okay, so from the center point out, it's going 0.25, center point out 0.25. Okay. We're going to hit that. We're going to finish that off. See that? Now you'll notice that I have not cleared my planes. Because I'm going to draw this next link over here. We're going to go Shift S, select that link down there. We're going to go right click, view normal to sketch plane. It's going to rotate us. And we're just going to repeat our rectangle that we did before. Okay, we're going to go over here. We're going to line up with the origin, move up. We see that projection line. It might be hard to see in the video, but it's projecting out over there. Okay, we're going to go C for circle, selecting the midpoint, draw over. Selecting the other midpoint for the same circle and draw over again. We're going to hit D for dimensions. We know this right here is 1.5. Okay. And we know this distance over here is also 1.5. Okay. We do a little rotating around so we can see that again. There we go. Okay. And we know this circle inside here is 1. Okay. I'm going to hit my Shift E. And just like we did before, instead of doing that blind, we're going to go and do symmetric. And we're going to go this as 0.5. Hit Enter. And there we go. Let's make sure that we get on the right side of our view cube so we can see and set up our view. We're going to clear our planes. Go up to the hamburger menu, hit print, and we're going to hit download image, but make sure it takes up a little bit more of that space. You know, utilize some more of that space and not so much of the white space left. Okay. Please also make sure that your view isn't set to perspective so we get a good clean view at it and it's not warping around like a fishbowl. Okay. Hit that download image, turn that in, and you're done with this assignment. All right, the second part of this week, we're looking at this carburetor gasket. Now this one's a little bit more challenging because there's no real flat lines based off of it. It's all based off of these circles, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up the small circles and then go to the inside circles, the bigger circles, and then we're gonna define those and then start working around the outside of our object, okay? So let's go ahead and start working on this. We're gonna go Shift S for our sketch, select that front, right click and go View Normal to Sketch Plane. Okay, we're gonna hit C for our circle. We're gonna hover over that origin, place one of them up above. Remember, we're just drawing for shape first. Okay, just drawing for shape. Okay, now we got these two bigger inner circles. Now that one's spacing off over the center. That's okay. We're going to actually come back and correct that later on. So anyway, so there we go. That's our general shape for the circles on the outside. So we're going to define these and locate these first. Okay. Now we're going to define the size. Now this one up here, this size is 0.75. Okay. Now that's going to set the scale for all the other ones first. Okay. I'm just going to adjust that over there. It's bothering me a little bit. Okay, and we're going to hit E for the equals up here. What we're going to do is we're going to select our first circle that we defined, and we're going to hit another circle, and it's going to cause it to shrink and go equal to it. Okay, because we defined this size once, it's going to pull that equals for the rest of them. Okay, so we're going to hit D. We're going to define one of the big circles. Okay. And the big circles are 2.75. We're going to hit E for equals. We're going to click the first circle and click the second circle. We're going to hit D for dimensions. We're going to define this height. Okay, this height is 1.75. Okay, see that get pulled in. Define the origin to the overall side over here. And same thing, 1.75. Now we could set up a symmetrical line utilizing that. It's a little bit more of a headache than putting in the dimensions, but that would be something that we should do at a later. All right, so our next big step is going to be setting the dimensions for these circles going horizontally. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this in origin point and go to the center of the large circle. And this distance is 1.69. Okay. Let's get an origin point to the center of the other large circle is also 1.69. Okay. Now you can click and move those and adjust. I do like to keep those cleaned up and make sure that I'm not covering any other ones. Okay. And we're going to go origin point to the center of the farther out circles. That's 3.75. And origin point to the farther out circles. 3.75. All right, so what we're doing now is we're going to be working through and creating the outside edges of this, okay? Now, mind you, we're not going to come through and fill it on when it's on the inside, but we are going to place these circles out here. So we're going to hit C for circle, and we know that there's one that's bigger here, one that also shares an origin point there, origin point, origin point, origin in the center, and right there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to come through and trim some of these. We got to make sure that they do cross, because if they don't cross, it kind of throws off the extrusion or the trimming. Okay, so we're going to go up to the scissors. You can see trim is M. Okay, and we're going to trim everything that is not these outside edges. Okay, trim everything but the outside edges. Okay, I'm going to trim there, trim along those, trim, 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 trim. Okay, we can come back through and we can actually select these and just manually delete them by selecting on them and then hitting your delete key there. Okay. Okay, we're going to go back to our dimension button and we're going to go dimension. We're actually going to set this so now you can see when we are actually drawing it out, it has an R in front of it. So now we're looking at the radius. Okay, and the radius for these up here is going to be 2. Okay, The radius for these out here is going to be 1. And the radius for this one is 1.12. Okay. We're going to hit D and start going through and making sure, or E, we're going to make sure we set our equals. So these two out here are both equal to each other. The top is equal to the bottom. And this over here is also equal to this. Top is equal to the arc over there. Okay. Now we do see that we do have some issues with this arc up here. It's because its center point flowed off. So if you grab it and drop it back on top of there, it's going to set a coincident point that is going to place it in the middle of that. Okay. You see that it turned back dark. What we're going to do is we're going to extrude this and then come back through with our filleting tool. So we're going to hit Shift E. Okay. We're going to bring it out. Now we don't need to worry about anything else. We're looking at the 0.0625. Super thin. Okay, it's super thin for a gasket that goes in between a carburetor and a intake manifold. It is pretty thin. Okay, but now what we're going to do is we're going to go fillet out some of this area out over here. Okay, so we're going to go up here. We're going to find our fillet tool. You can see that it's a key Shift F. Okay. Now we're going to set our radius first. Cross section is going to be circular. And then we're going to work on our allow edge flow, overflow, true. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set this as our radius. Oh, Mr. G is looking for it. I think it's 0.75. Nope, 0.1 or 1.0. Okay. And that's for all of those. Okay. So we're going to zoom in. You'll see that we have this vertical line right here. We're going to select it. And what that's going to do is that's going to draw a bar out over here for us to be able to do. Okay. Zoom in, click. I'm going to rotate around. And we're just going to go through and select these vertical bars out here and set those as to be filleted also. All right. As we go around right there, we're going to hit our green check. All right. Hit our top and our angle, not top left front. We're going to go top front right. And there is our carburetor gasket finished. Okay. So we're going to hit our hamburger. We're going to go print, download the image, make sure it's as center as possible. Download that image and turn that in for our assignment. Awesome.